Hi everyone, my name's Steve. Just a bit of background, I've been going to Southside for about 16 and a half years, something like that. Started going in 2003 when I was a student in Ayr. I'm now married and I have two kids, Lucy and Jack. And there's just a few things that I want to speak to you about today in this Take 10 video. I had to have a wee bit of a think when I was first asked to do this because nothing really jumped out at me straight away. But I've come up with something that I think is really helpful to me and hopefully will mean something to you as well. For a bit of background as well, I usually work part-time. Obviously I'm not at work at the moment. I work at a garage in Ayr, and Gemma, my wife, works full-time. So normally I would be looking after the kids second half of the week when I'm not at work. So it's a bit different just now, obviously, because nurseries and schools are closed. So the kids are at home the whole time. Gemma's at home as well, although she's got some work to do as well. So slightly different dynamic. But I want to just say a few things about Lucy, who is my 4-year-old. I've been really impressed with how she's been handling the situation. And there's a few things that I just want to share with you just now. First of all, a lot of you might have the prayer diary. Before this whole coronavirus thing started, it was just one person or one family per day to pray for. It's now 15 or 16 people per day, and Lucy's been very, very good at actually doing that, and she's been really good at keeping us accountable to that as well. She keeps kind of prompting us to pray for people too. So we tend to do that at meal times, at breakfast, lunch and dinner. She, as I say, is always really, really good at praying for people. She's also getting to know a lot more of the church family as well, because she gets to see a lot of pictures and things. She's picking up names. So it'll be interesting to see whether she comes and actually speaks to you all in real life whenever church starts back up. She's also been praying that you all have nice meals. Because we pray at meal times, she's effectively saying the grace for all of you as well, which is quite sweet. But anyway, it's good that she's praying for people and she's keen to do it. Also, in general, prayer is kind of at the forefront for her as well. So for example, if she's ever got a sore tummy, she'll say that we need to pray for her tummy to feel better. If she's hurt her knee, we'll pray for that. And even yesterday, as we were washing the car, I just happened to mention it's such a lovely day outside, and I said, should we thank God for the lovely day, for the nice weather? And she said, yeah. And she just prayed to God and said thank you for the nice weather. So even that, I think, is really, really good. She's also got a couple of favourite songs as well. One of them is Every Giant Will Fall by Wren Collective, which I'll come back to later on. My Lighthouse, and there's a song by Spring Harvest called Glow. Spring Harvest was all online this year because obviously we couldn't meet up with people because we're not allowed to. But there's a really, really good theme song online on YouTube for that. You should look it up. It's called Glow. It's really, really good, especially for kids. It's dead jumpy and dead fast. And lastly, she's really good at her Bible stories as well. We've got, as a lot of kids do, we've got a kids' Bible that we read every night with her before she goes to bed. And as much as these stories are only 3 or 4 pages long, really big writing, so there's not an awful lot of words in them, I've been quite challenged by the fact that she quite often remembers the stories herself. Even sometimes some of the stories that are in it, there's maybe about 50 stories in it, and you think, I wonder if on my own Bible knowledge, which is really challenging, whether I would remember some of the things that she's remembering. So I have been challenged by that too. They have some verses on their walls, Jack and Lucy, and it's from Joshua 1:9, which says, be strong and courageous, do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. And there was one instance where Jack was having a nap in the afternoon, and Lucy had gone up to see him when he'd just woken up. And Gemma then went in to go and get him, and Lucy was actually saying that verse to him when he was still in his cot. Now, she's too young to read, so she's not reading it off the wall, but she obviously remembers it because Gemma prays that over her at night before she goes to sleep, which is really, really good. So I've been really encouraged by that too. You might wonder why I'm just talking about Lucy the whole time, but in my head I was thinking, right, the Bible says that we are to be like children, to be childlike, not childish, but to be childlike. I just like to read Matthew 18:1 to you. At that time the disciples came to Jesus and asked, who then is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? He called a little child to him and placed the child among them. And he said, truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever takes the lowly position of this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me. And I kind of had a wee think about what that meant. So there's a few things I came up with. I believe that we're not meant to be self-centered. There's quite a lot of people in Southside. There's some like myself that's been there for a long time. There's some people that have been there for a very short time. But the fact that I've been there for 16 or 17 years doesn't matter a hoot. It could be you've only been there for a week or a day or whatever, but we are all as important in God's eyes. I think one of the things about children as well is about being dependent. A lot of children are dependent on their parents, kind of guiding them and showing them the right way to go. And I think that's something that is good for us to think about as well, is to be dependent on God. I think far too often we look at the situations in our life and we think, yeah, I can do that, or I'm going to push myself and I'll do that. But actually we almost just push God out the picture, and that's wrong. We shouldn't be doing that. We should be including him in every area of our lives and actually actively be asking for his help. Trust as well. I think kids put an awful lot of trust in different people in their lives, whether it's teachers or parents or grandparents or anybody else that they see regularly, that they have a very kind of trusting nature. And I think it's up to us as well to trust God, that he knows what he's doing. And that can sometimes be really difficult. You look at the situation and we're in just now, where we have to trust God that we're going to come out the other end of it. Just trust that it's part of the big picture, and he knows what he's doing, kind of thing. And also not to be stressed about it either. Lucy knows a little bit about what's going on at the moment. She knows that there's people getting sick, and that's why we can't go too far away from home and we can't visit grandparents. But she's not worried about it. She's not anxious about it. We pray about it, and she's just really trusting in God that like I say, he knows what he's doing, and she's just not worried about it. One of the things that Elaine was talking about last week was that it's sometimes good to just sit back and reset. And I think that's something that I find quite useful as well. So when we're talking about being childlike, sometimes I find it really helpful to go back to basics and just go back to the gospel and go, do you know, it's not, don't get me wrong, it's fantastic, people that get really in-depth into the Bible and know loads of different details and it comes from the Greek and all that sort of stuff. That's all fantastic. And I would never knock that. If you're in that place, that's brilliant. I wish I was. But it's really, really good just to go back to the nitty-gritty, so to speak. Love God and love your neighbour. I'm just going to read some lyrics from the song Every Giant Will Fall, which is one of Lucy's favourite songs. So if you bear with me, I'll just read through that. I can see the promised land, though there's pain within the plan. There is victory in the end. Your love is my battle cry. Every giant will fall, the mountains will move. Every chain of the past you've broken in two. Over fears, over lies, we're singing the truth, that nothing is impossible with you. And I just think that's just such an amazing song. I'm really encouraged whenever I hear it, whenever Lucy says she wants to hear it. And I'm obviously really encouraged the fact that that's one of our favourite songs as well. Because kids remember song lyrics. We all remember song lyrics. So it's brilliant that she's able to remember that and play that often so that she can just think about it. So I hope this has been helpful to you. I hope it makes sense. I'm just going to pray to finish. I hope you're all doing well, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Dear God, please help us to trust in you. Please help us to remember to be childlike, not to try and live life on our own capabilities, but to always ask for your help. And I pray for everyone in this church family and in the wider family and all churches, God. I know it's not a particularly easy time for people, and a lot of people will really be finding it really, really difficult, but I just pray that you would be with everyone, you'd be looking after them, and that we would just be able to relax in the knowledge that you know what you're doing and that you're looking after us. Please be with us, God. Thank you. Amen.